Welcome to our kitchen. On today's show we'll be making homemade pizza from scratch that's so easy even a kid could do it. So from our kitchen to yours, it's all happening right here at Sharon's Home Bistro. Okay, first we're going to start off by making our dough for our pizza. In this instance, we're going to be using a bread machine, but this can also be done by hand. First off, you want to use bread flour. There is really a difference between bread flour and regular flour, so please, if you're going to make this, use bread flour. We're going to be using 4 cups of our bread flour. It doesn't have to be exact. I do like to round it off just ever so slightly. Now, if you don't have a bread machine and you are interested, these bread machines can be found at thrift stores like Goodwill, yard sales, or even on eBay for as little as $10. And I'll tell you what, it has really made a difference. In 15 minutes, with like very little effort, you can have delicious bread or pizza dough, rolls, you name it, at just a fraction of the cost of what you would pay to buy bread in the store. So there's our flour. The next thing we're going to be adding is our salt. Now, I'm diabetic, but you have to add a little bit of salt. So we're going to add 1 teaspoon of salt, ever so slightly. And you just dump it in. Next, we found that using 4 tablespoons of sugar really helps the yeast to bloom the dough, make it rise. Now I just do it ever slightly rounded, and it's going to be 4 slightly rounded tablespoons right on in there. Now you can use packet yeast when you're doing by hand, but in the bread machine we've discovered that they have bread machine yeast. It comes in a little jar, and we're going to use 1 tablespoon, also slightly rounded, in there. In our recipe. Also calls for 1.5 cups of warm water. I kind of like to feel it as if it's kind of like if you're going to take a bath. And we already have it pre-measured, so we're going to pour it straight in. Now each bread machine is different. Ours takes about 15 minutes. And then you have your dough. Now this dough recipe works, like I said, great for pizza, great for bread, great for rolls. So we'll see you in 15 minutes when this bread dough is ready.
For more great recipes, visit our website at www.sharonshomebistro.com.
Okay, our dough is done, so I'm going to go get that from the bread machine. Now I know it's been 15 minutes. And like I said, every bread machine is different. This one lifts out. And as you can see, it has a nice consistency. Now, depending on where you live, how humid it is, the altitude, you may have to adjust your water a little bit if it seems to be too dry when it's mixing. You might have to add another 1/4 cup, maybe even as much as a 1/2 cup if it's really dry, to make sure that you get a nice good consistency. Now what we're going to do is we're going to spray our pizza pan. You can use any kind of pan you like. In this case, we're going to be using a large pan. This dough will make one really large, thick pan pizza, or two, if you roll out with a rolling pin, two thin crust pizzas. You can also just tap it into a cookie sheet and make a Sicilian pie if you like. So let's put this out here. Nothing beats homemade pizza dough. And like I said, this dough can be used, this is basic bread dough, and this dough can be used for bread, rolls, and pizza dough. It's soft, it's pliable, it's not too dry, it's not runny, it's holding itself together. We're going to sprinkle it with a little bit of flour. And this one we're going to do a pan crust, just tap it right in, no rolling needed. And you just spread it out in the pan. Now what I do is get it going, get it stretched out a good bit, and then using the palm of your hand, the heel of your hand, working in from the middle, press it down thin, and then just work your way out. This way it stretches out. It's not too thick in the middle, so it won't be doughy when you bake it. By the way, you will be baking this at 350 degrees. Baking times will vary. You want to bake it until the edges of your crust are a nice brown. I say the baking times vary depending on the amount of toppings you have. We're going to be doing pepperoni and slivers of onion. As far as your sauce is concerned, you can use any kind of sauce you like. We use tomato sauce because we buy ours in bulk at Walmart. It's much cheaper that way. And then we can season it to our tastes. So it doesn't come with any seasonings in it whatsoever. So we'll be adding some sugar and some Italian seasoning. But you can use regular spaghetti sauce, you can use jarred pizza sauce. It's really whatever you like to use. Your taste preference. What I usually do is just pinch up the sides to make it even. Also makes it easier when you're spreading your sauce on. And it makes a nice thick crust along the outside. Now what you also can do is, instead of having just a thick crust on the outside, is if you stretch this out even more, after you have all your toppings on, you can put another layer of cheese around here and then fold it over for stuffed crust pizza, which is also really good. Now we buy our sauce, like I said, in bulk. We get this 6 pounds and 9 ounces of just tomato sauce at Walmart. It's less than $3, which comes out to like less than 50 cents a pound for our sauce. So we spread it on. Now if you're doing 12-inch pizzas, you probably use about a cup. But being that we're using this large pan, I'm just spooning it on. You don't want it too heavy, because if it gets too wet, your dough is not going to bake upright. And it'll be all wet and gooey, and it's not going to taste very good. Just a little bit more. I like to work it right up to the crust, so that every bite has a little bit of sauce in it. There we go. So as you can see, I mean, you can adjust to your taste. If you like a little bit more sauce, A little bit less, it's entirely up to you. And again, with the cheese, it's to taste. If you like a lot of cheese like we do, you want to cover every bit of sauce that you see. If you don't like that much cheese, you just adjust it according to your taste. But shredded cheese is the best. We like low moisture, part skim. It's less oily. It's healthier, obviously. Because you'll find with other cheese, like whole milk cheese, it's going to be a lot oily. Just like you get from the pizza parlor. You may like that, but this is much healthier to do it this way. Alright, there's our cheese. And now we're going to do some pepperoni. Now when you go in to do vegetables like green peppers or onions, you got to be aware of the moisture content. You don't want to go too crazy with vegetables that have a lot of moisture in them, because it's going to make your pizza rather soggy, and it's going to take a little bit longer to cook so that the crust underneath isn't still doughy when you go to eat it. Now we buy our pepperoni in bulk. Notice that the thinner the pepperoni, the better. It crisps up a lot faster, and it's really delicious. You can also get pepperoni from your deli in various sizes, which is also really good. Here we go. And just for a little added kick on our pizza today, we're going to be adding some slivers of onion. You can limit how much sugar and salt you have used. You've got all fresh ingredients, and you know where everything is coming from, unlike the pizza parlor. You see that? Nice and thin. You can see the knife slide right through the onion. Nice and thin. Almost translucent. Because when onion cooks, it tends to shrink a little bit. You know, this is a great thing to do with kids even. Let them make their own pizzas. And we're going to pop our pizza right into the oven. I have it preheated at 350. Okay, our pizza is done. Oh, look at that crust. That's what we're talking about. Nice, brown, you can tell, crispy, beautiful. There you have it. I would let it cool a good 10-15 minutes before you cut into it. Let the cheese, you know, set up a little bit so it doesn't run all over the place. And enjoy. From our house to yours, this is Sharon's Home Bistro.